Today on the Agile podcast, we're going to take a look and react to a video that many of you have probably already seen before, but we're going to talk about it because very recently we were talking about this with quite a few other people. What is the future of Agile? Some people think, just keep on keeping on and everyone will kind of come up to speed and learn on their own. And then other people think Agile's kind of over and then they're looking for the next thing.
Yeah, we're going to look at the crystal ball today and see what we can come up with.
So we're going to look at Dave Thomas's Agile is Dead video and see if we can't get pulled down for copyright strikes. That's what we're going to try to do today. All right, Agile's dead, but we don't have to stop doing it. That's his opening.
I think it's interesting. Agile is dead, but we keep on doing it, right? Maybe it's not dead. Maybe it's just wounded fatally. It hasn't gone legs up yet, but it's hurting.
I'm going to go to my first time code.
We may well have been developing our software using the rational unified process, RUP, as opposed to the irrational unified process. Maybe there was one. Not necessarily a bad process, but badly applied most of the time.
Rationally unified process was one of the things that you had in early software development. He's going through the history of how software projects were in the early days.
So you could argue that the processes we know today have evolved. 1999, for example, that was where RUP was. So it's kind of unfair in a way to compare what was available back then to what is available today. It's evolved. And we often look back and go, is that what we were doing? But, at one point, we were walking on all fours and crawling in and out of caves.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, his next part of the video goes into that. Here, watch this.
99% of software projects look like this. Valiant people manning the barricades, do or die, mostly die, chaos, smoke, gunfire, death. That was your average software project. And clearly that's not sustainable. It's fun, and you get to wear cool uniforms, but it's not sustainable. So,
if I gave a talk, this is what it would look like. All incendiary stuff like that for 45 minutes. And I'd be like, well, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. But he's trying to say there was no rules and there was no process. I wasn't working in software development in 1999.
99, and in that kind of time frame, it was quite interesting that people really didn't know Agile very well.
Yeah.
But they knew the old way wasn't working. So it was that crux, right? That when people were trying to get out of that old way of working, but they didn't really know how.
We were careful to call it the Manifesto for Agile Software Development. That's what it says on the website. That's what it says in Dutch. That's what it's called. But that's not what people call it. People call it the Agile Manifesto. And this is the root of all the evil that has followed. No, I'm serious.
Yeah, I have another minute to go, but I wanted to pause there.
Oh my! I think he's drawing a distinction, obviously, in the way they interpreted those principles, the manifesto, and how people have just gravitated to the Bible, so to speak. But yeah, he's crossed out Agile here and just called it the manifesto, which I think is hilarious.
All right, let's finish this last minute.
Can you tell me why it's the root of all evil? Sentence says that we produced a very agile manifesto, which presumably means that if you put it on the table, it'll start dancing. No, because agile is an adjective. You cannot call, if you need to talk about a manifesto about agile software development, it's not an agile manifesto. The best you can do is the agility manifesto or something ugly like that. Because agile, there's a definite black spot here if it clears. Agile, as it says up there, is an adjective. I want to stress this, and I'm going to stress this by hypnotizing you all with the word adjective.
This is one of the main points of the video. Then the next one that we go over is going to be the other main point in the video.
It's absolutely a key distinction, though, that he's is bringing out here. It's not the Agile Manifesto as we know it, because when was it last updated?
Yeah.
For one thing, it's not adapted as you go forward.
Yeah.
I think that may be where it's coming from. It's stayed as is. It really is something that we should be looking at in order to strive towards greater agility as opposed to the Agile Manifesto, which sounds like if you followed all those things that are in the Agile Manifesto, you will be agile. Right? And that's obviously not the case.
Well, he outlines this to get to the point that he's about to get to here at 11:48 or so.
Now, do you do Agile? What is Agile? Agile Alliance. I mean, even Cosmo's getting in the act. Do you notice, by the way, that not only do they use it as a noun, but they spell it with a capital letter? It's a proper noun, just like God. So, this is not good. This is not good. So, why do I think this is the root of all evil? It's really, really simple. If I have some adjectives, like, for example, green, right? I can't sell it to you. I can't come up to you and say, here, have some green. Doesn't work. If I said, have some green paint or some green vegetables, absolutely, I can sell you that. I can sell you nouns, but I cannot sell you adjectives. And the industry that sprang up around the Agile Manifesto, I just used the word Agile Manifesto. The industry that sprung up around that manifesto wanted to sell you things.
I'll pause right there. We're now in the bulk of his reasons why. We're like reason number one of why Agile is dead for his presentation. Which Agile is not dead, because he even starts the presentation by saying, we are going to keep going, but he's pointing out problems. And the problem number one, which you saw right there on the screen, where he has 4 bulleted points of nouns of people trying to sell you things, training, consultancy, books, and conferences.
The man's spot on. I mean, how do you sell anything unless you put a form around it, right? And this is what they've done.
Yeah.
They've really made it something tangible that they can put some value on and say, we can sell you this. We can train you on something. Or bring us in. We will make you agile with a capital A, as he puts it. A lot of people are still doing that. I know that certainly one thing that's not on there in the 4 bullets is tool providers. They've done the same thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right? So you can go out and buy the greatest tool out there, and just because you use the tool, you are now agile.
The greatest tool out there,
Yeah.
which is not Jira. Just it wouldn't be an Agile podcast if I didn't get a little stab in there at Jira.
Yeah, so he's right. I believe he's right. I think collectively the industry is to blame for where we're at with this stuff.
Yeah. Let's pick up 14:05. We're going to pick up 1 minute from now here.
But it gets worse. Because how do they sell you Agile? The same way they sell you medicine and all sorts of other things. They use fear. Speak to me. Because Agile has all these new words. Scrum, Kanban, right? Spikes, all of these kind of things that people have not heard before. And people get nervous, particularly management, where people are talking to them about all these weird things. What on earth are you talking about? How do I use this? Right? This is strange. So you have to bring in a translator who's going to sit there and spend a day and charge you 2,000 euros to tell you what a spike is.
Yeah, I played a little bit extra so you can understand the full context of where he was going, but
Yeah, well, first of all, where can I get a gig like that? That's decent. But he's right. This is exactly it. So for years and years and years, right, people have got used to a certain lingo. This is how business people spoke, right? And then bang, along comes this new wave, and now there are new buzzwords around that nobody understood. And then what happens, right? Well, if you don't understand them, you must need help.
Yeah.
You must need consultants to come in and translate those for you. So when they come in, they translate those, but you don't internalize those. You may appreciate them or understand them, and then these consultants leave.
Right.
And you struggle with what you've been left with, right?
Yeah.
And that's very, very pervasive out there.
Yeah. I feel like I should be adding more to the back and forth here, but the video pretty much speaks for itself. This is from the Deming research, is you have to drive fear out of the organization in order to improve the organization.
But if you drive fear out, you lose control, Brian.
That's, yeah. You think maybe you drive those people that maybe think that the only way to gain control is through using fear. But in reality, all fear does is, like, you think about Think about disciplining little kids. Like when you yell at a little kid, the little kid sits there and nods at you or cries or whatever, and then as soon as you walk away, the kid goes back to doing whatever they were doing. Doesn't matter if people are not little kids, if they're full-blown adults, or if they're older. It doesn't really matter. They have the same kind of response to fear. They kind of just shut down and kind of get through it and stay real still. And then when you're gone, they go back to doing whatever they were doing.
Absolutely.
It doesn't work to motivate anyone.
It doesn't. And furthermore, it's actually dangerous because it stifles innovation, right? People just fall in line.
Yes.
Because that's the fear you struck
Yeah.
in them. It don't do anything different.
Yeah.
Stay within the lines.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I used to confront people like that. I used to really take the mantle of the Deming research. I used to take that very seriously, even before I even knew what the Deming research was. On an instinctual level, I thought about this. On an instinctual level, I was operating on this like instinctual feeling of people who just roll around the organization trying to induce fear to get what they want, to influence, basically using fear to influence, to get what they want. I would automatically combat the destructive nature of the people. In this particular instance, I had been with that organization for a very long time, and it was like nearly impossible to get fired. I was like, there's no way these guys can fire me. Like, this is ridiculous. So if I would see people rolling around like that, just, fear mongering, basically get what they want, I'd immediately put myself in front of them just to see what happened. Because I would ask them, I don't recommend this at all in any way, shape, or form. I would ask them, I was like, hey, do you realize that by saying this specific thing, or, calling out their behavior, basically, hey, but by interrupting in this meeting, do you realize that you're being a disruption? You're causing issues, or what? Do you understand that you're doing this? Are you aware of your own behavior, basically? That's the way it should, A real Agile coach or whatever would take them away one-on-one. They wouldn't confront them in front of a large group and be like, do you realize that you're being very disruptive, basically? You wouldn't want to confront somebody on that, because what are you going to do when you confront them in front of a big group? They're going to get defensive. That's not the place to confront. But earlier in my career, I would do that because it was, number one, it's funny because everyone in the room knew the organization had come from, I don't know what the opposite of a fearmonger, a fearless. I don't know what the organization was that way. And then because of some changes in staff and leadership and stuff like that, the company got bought out and there was some changes in leadership and stuff. Because of a series of events, that culture changed, where these people found it easier to operate in the organization. And then overnight, it wasn't really overnight. It was over several years. It wasn't really overnight. But to me, it felt like overnight because I was like, I'm just doing my job in the same way I've always been doing my job. And all these new people are just being, and they don't get it.
So the one thing, an approach like that, where you're in a fear-based environment, the one thing it does is it gets people to do things.
Yeah.
Just think about new recruits in the military, right? And what they go through now.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's a different case slightly because you're trying to drill discipline into them.
Right.
But to a large degree, that's true of an organization as well, because you're not in control. Absolutely, they are.
Yeah.
And they set the rules, and you're just there to obey.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to do the bare minimum. You're going to do bare minimum because anything else outside of that gets you pain.
Yeah.
And you don't want that. Not doing the bare minimum gets you pain. So you have to do that, but then you'll stop because, that pain that you're experiencing doing things for a fear-based leader, you want the pain to stop. So
Right.
you'll just say, well, I've done my 50 sit-ups. I'm not going to do 5 more.
Yeah.
Even though you may want to, but
Yeah.
you're not going to.
Yeah.
And that's probably not a good example.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
I think it is a good example because in the example there is like you're not going to push yourself past your limits. You're going to do what you're told to do as you understand it, and you're not going to go about a creative way of doing it. You're going to do it in the quickest way that you can do it and just get it out of your way to get that person off your back. I've used examples before on this podcast about a manager coming down to me when I was in a lead position and being like, just do it because this person's asking, and get them off your back, and then go back to whatever you were doing. Okay, but then what am I going to do the next time? Are we going to do this every single time that person comes down with an unreasonable request just to make them go away because we're scared of dealing with them? That's basically what it is, because we're scared of dealing with them. That's not sustainable.
You lose good people that way,
Yeah.
in the long run. So if you're doing it because you really feel like you're capitulating, you have to do it under protest. Make sure your protest is registered.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's such a diametrically opposed culture to one where everybody's empowered. to basically shut down the production line, as it were, right? In the other culture, it's, you better not touch it because all the loss and everything else, it'll be down on you, so just let it go.
Yeah.
And so in the end, it's not in the interest of the organization at all to do it that way. But it is in the interest of those that are driving the fear, right? Because they maintain their command and they maintain their control.
Well, that's pleasant.
Let's see what Dave has to say.
1622 is my next.
And then last, but by no means least, cool cells. And this is where we take a large part of the blame. Because as developers, and to some extent as managers in the industry, we are drawn to bright, shiny new things. You have to look at the success of JavaScript libraries to know that. So when anything new comes along, it's like, oh, I want to try that, I want to be good at that. And so you'll go out and you will try it, right? But that's kind of insidious, because once you have tried this brand new thing, then you have this kind of weird sense of power, that you know something that other people don't know. Right? This is my step up in the world. And so you're actually kind of, in a way, want to make it harder for other people, because this is your kind of thing. Now, I know it's not a conscious thought. No one here is evil like that. But it happens.
Yeah, I think he's getting into this idea of acquired perceived power by making sure that when you learn something new, you want to keep ahead of everybody else.
Right.
For whatever reason. I think we've seen that before, haven't we? You know, the hero developers and people like that. But yeah, I think cool cells is true.
Yeah.
Because you're going to find all of these providers of all things Agile come up with new terms.
Yeah.
And it's largely the same thing packaged in a different wrapper.
Yeah, well, this kind of lends itself back to ego that we were talking about before. I feel the smartest because I'm on the cutting edge. I feel like I know something that you don't. Oh, like his bullet point, what? You aren't doing Agile, you know what I mean? Like, do you know the difference between being Agile and doing Agile, That stuff is ego, and I get it. I don't even know what point I'm trying to make right now, but that, like, the development department is probably the worst place to wheel out cool toys and try to keep your ego out of the equation.
I think that's true. I think if you're careful in bringing out the new thing and just let everybody have at it, right, as opposed to just the leads or however that's done. Mostly it's the leads, which then end up they then end up hoarding the knowledge, holding people back, holding people at bay.
Yeah, well, I've talked through this example before on the podcast. I was like, this happened to me before. Got to make a note because we're going to talk about it on the next podcast. We got to remember, which is somebody sold my executives at a company I was at on SAFe, and they came in and gave them all the SAFe training, gave them the placard and all that. And it's like, you guys got to do this. And we had like 2 teams. I'm like, why do we need all this overhead for 2 teams? This is ridiculous. But they were like, he did a great, she, I don't know who the salesperson was, but that sold him SAFe, but who the SPC was that sold him SAFe, but they did a great job because they were sold. They were like, this is the future. This is the way to do it. You're safe. Look at all these top. Some article just came out in the last week or two about the percentage of the top Fortune 100 that are on SAFe, or maybe Fortune 10. I don't remember what it was. They're using SAFe.
Yeah, but they have 100 teams. We only have 2, right? So yeah, of all the marketing entities out there, I'd have to say SAFe is one of the better ones. Yeah. Better in the sense that they managed to
all the big organizations.
People.
Yeah, the big organizations are using it. You can't be left out.
That's right.
My goodness.
FOMO.
Yeah, but that's this category.
Absolutely.
Don't be left out. Mm-hmm. The funny thing is, like, this, he categorizes it cool cells, but I feel that the inside the narcissist toolbox of the narcissist developer or development manager that I've worked for before, their toolbox is fear, doubt. Fear, doubt. Fear, doubt. Fear, doubt. And that's how they keep control, you know what I mean? And like gaslight people and keep the idealism under control and keep the new ideas shoved down underneath this so nothing kind of organically blows up and takes the focus off of how awesome they are. The hero developer, if you will. Fear and doubt are those tools. So here he covered fear pretty well. It's straightforward to cover fear. But this cool cells thing, this is doubt. I feel repackaged in a different way. That's what this is. Oh, you're not doing Agile? oh, maybe you don't know what you're doing. Oh,
Right.
maybe you aren't up with the hot new technology trends. Maybe you don't know. Oh,
And your
maybe.
competitors are doing it, right?
Little doubt here and there.
So what that does is it sows uncertainty in your mind. It's like, oh, maybe we should be doing that.
This is an important point because I've talked about this on the podcast before without good results because I never really know where I'm going when I bring it up. But at least I'm clear here. There are people that get the management that do not have the ability to craft a vision in their mind. They are not forward thinking. They're like, what am I doing in the next week? What am I doing in the next quarter? They're quarterly profits over a 20-year plan. You know what I mean? 20-year plan, let's say 5-year plan. Let's say 3 5-year plan, but they can't think past quarter.
Yeah.
That's the school of maximize shareholder value. That's that school, right? So to the detriment of literally everything else, including will my company even be around a year from now? They can only think out a quarter. That short-sightedness. That same group in management that is short-sighted and does not have the ability to craft a vision, this doubt works very well on. I think we should move on quickly because we've probably beaten this one down enough.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Absolutely. FUD, the FUD factor, fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Our way is best. If you're not doing that, you're second class. So because of all these things, I feel quite strongly that the concept agile as a noun has just become an industry. It's a machine that attacks us on the basis of fear and asks us to pay money to assuage that fear.
So we just hit the main point of his presentation right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So collectively, all of these factors basically hold you to ransom. If you don't give in and pay, you can be left out. You will be run over by all these people that are agile or doing agile. They're buying agile things. And so hurry up and get there. So that's correct. I think he's right on that. And so this is interesting because if you don't do all of that, are you then not agile or being agile? With a lowercase a?
I mean, the funny thing is you can find your own way into this stuff. Every Agile coach consultant who comes in your company, if you decided, hey, we need to kind of change our business practices and do whatever, they'll start by telling you, like, your company is unique, your business practice is unique. Whatever the implementation of Agile is in your company, it will be unique to you. The industry of like, wow, you got to have the certification, you got to have this, whatever. You don't necessarily have to have any of that.
Yeah, so some of the bigger consultants will come in and maybe they'll give you that spiel, but then they'll quickly pivot to, this is what you need. Because you're relying on them to actually give you something. You're paying them a handsome chunk of change to do that. So they'll say, here's what you need. You need a transformation plan, and we'll give you that, and we'll be with you through your transformation. They won't. They say that.
Yeah. What
they mean is they will give you training. They will give you, nice glossy folders with all these PowerPoint decks and whatever else, and then they'll peel out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they'll probably instill in your organization a framework, more than likely safe, whether you need it or not.
Yeah.
That's typically what I see happening with some of the larger consulting companies that go in.
Well, I figure it wouldn't be very profitable for them to roll in with a team of people who can serve as scrum masters and product owners to the organization to deploy into your teams and kind of help you live it until you can hire your own people, and then they slowly transition out over time because you can only afford to keep so many people not on an active contract at a time. So you would constantly have to engage with companies at different stages of their, I don't want to call it transformation because the word is overused, but the different stages of their, I don't want to call it maturity because that word's overused. I don't know what word to call it. At different stages of their
transitioning,
to different ways of working. I don't know, maybe you have different teams that work at different stages,
So there's nothing stopping them from embedding one or two, take a team and pilot that, and people in the client organization would also then hire people from within, or not hire, but put people that they already have because they have the domain knowledge. Put them in alongside you.
That'd be the better way,
Yeah, and then they would grow, through the use of this consultant over time. And maybe it only takes a few sprints. But they don't do that because they'd much rather take those people and go to another organization and start doing what they just did to you.
Yeah. This is an interesting category, and we probably could burn 45 minutes just talking about the trends in consultancy, the methods of consultancies and the way they go about it. There's a couple different ways to approach this. I'm going to try to summarize this quick. I might cut all this out because I don't know if this is helpful, but you could just have nothing but Agile coaches, people who are capable of doing anything, and they could just embed and quickly decide to either do the jobs themselves and partner with somebody, or maybe not do the job themselves, but partner with somebody, a subject matter expert or somebody on their teams to kind of teach them and then be there with them, basically partnering with them the whole time and going side by side to teach them the job, and then kind of suggesting things as they go along. But I could also easily see that it might be cool to have like a wing of your company of like more junior people, like not like full blown, a whole set of enterprise Agile coaches that are kind of sitting on the shelf waiting to be deployed, ripping up six figures on the shelf. Again, I go back to, I can't imagine seeing a whole cadre of people like that being on the bench. I can't see your company being profitable with that,
So the bigger consulting organizations don't do that. I mean, what they do is they'll bring in a change leader, right? Somebody who can train very quickly, 1 or 2 day classes. And like I mentioned, they'll preach the sermon, they'll give you the PowerPoint decks, and that's it. Good luck.
Yeah. I can't imagine a lot of people go for that. That's not super useful.
It's very lucrative, though.
I understand they make a lot of money.
I've been part of 3 that I can count right now without thinking too hard.
Yeah.
Where that's exactly what happened. When they left, what do? People, creatures of habit, they go back to
the way we were doing things.
Right.
Yeah, of
and
course.
Then they say, well, Agile doesn't work here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We tried it.
You tried it. Yeah, it didn't work. We're unique.
Yeah.
Right? That's why it doesn't work here. And
we're special. That's why it doesn't work. Yeah. I think the next thing that we're going to get into is right along what we're talking about right now.
And you can tell that this is designed for an organization. You can't quite read it here, but on the bottom here in the legend it says, extra meetings may occur, not shown on this diagram. So that keeps everybody happy. And then of course we have this.
Oh yeah.
Enough said.
Shots fired right there. He's talking about selling things to large organizations is what he's talking about in this part of the video.
Right.
He's still on his Agile as an industry. So he started with Agile as an industry around 2045-ish, and now at a little bit over 2 minutes later, he's talking about scaling frameworks, because this is stuff that people are cooking up to try to sell under the banner of Agile.
So I believe it is time to reclaim agility, because I still profoundly believe in the values of agility. So let me give you a version of agility that you can take away. It fits on one slide. This is what I think agility is. 3 steps plus a loop, right? The 3.
All right. This is his. I had 23, 27 where to pause. This is his what agility is and how to do it. Bullet points of trying to boil everything down. So his agility, what to do. Find out where you are, take a small step towards your goal, adjust your understanding based on what you learn, and then do it all again. And how to do it. When faced with 2 or more alternatives that deliver roughly the same value, take the path that makes your future change easier. And that's it. Like, you boil the whole everything down to that.
Just those 2.
Yeah.
And that's very simple, right? In its presentation like that. But when you think about it, it's actually hard to do that, because people don't have the expertise to take the path that makes the future change easier. Nobody knows.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're going to boil the Agile mindset down to something, like, this is a good thing to boil it down to, is like, figure out where you want to go next, take the smallest step possible, and then adjust.
Inspect and adapt in 3 words, right?
Inspect and adapt. Yeah, that's what it is. But I understand he's trying not to reuse. He's trying not to, like what I was trying to do earlier in our discussion. He's trying to, like, all the little buzzwords or whatever he's trying to avoid all those in this. And I understand why he's doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's inspect and adapt. But I'm thinking about this, and he goes on a bit in the video. I don't know if he exactly touches on this, because it's a very quick, it's a 40-minute video. My kind of takeaway here is this can be used when you're in deliver mode with a team, with a software development team deliver mode. But then at different levels of the organization or different parts of the organization, you could apply this as well. That's the thing that I think people don't understand, the concept isn't just a software development concept. Like, it can be applied anywhere.
Anywhere.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
yes. Yeah. Agreed.
I can't remember exactly where I read this, which was basically like how children naturally learn. They naturally learn by trying to do something and failing and then trying again and then until they figure it out. Or how everyone from the 80s learned how to play Atari games. Like, I don't know if you've ever went back and actually tried to play an Atari game.
Hard.
I went to an arcade recently with my kids because they're little, and we played some of those old Atari games that are like console games that were ported to Atari, or maybe they were Atari games that were ported to console. I really don't know. And those games are a grind.
Yeah.
It's super hard. My little girl, she loved the 80s Atari Tron game. She loved it. She was like, this is a great game. I mean, you start playing and you die immediately.
Yeah, kind of like working in Agile. No, just kidding. If you're going to do it right.
But she loves, I mean, I swear to you, she sat on that arcade console for an hour. And she got past the levels. There's only like 3 levels in the original Tron game. But she got past one of the levels, and I was like, I'm not sitting here for 3 more hours while you beat the game. Like, let's cut to the next 32. Really? I cut all the way to 32 from 23?
In fact, all experts are turkeys. All experts tell you what to do and tell you how to do it. And that is wrong. Why is it wrong? I think that's possibly the favorite slide I've ever produced. No rules are universal. In fact, every rule requires a context.
I was supposed to let him keep speaking, but I wanted to pause here because every corporate slideshow I've ever sat through, this is the best. This is like my example of what I want to see in a corporate slideshow. It's either a picture on the screen or it's one sentence or potentially even a partial sentence. If the next slide builds on that sentence, it just moves the sentence up and there's another sentence underneath it.
It sharpens the focus.
That's it. Like
There's no noise.
Yeah, the most trim slides ever. Anyway, I like it.
I do too.
Yeah.
Well, first we had pigs and chickens, and now we have turkeys.
I can't deal with corporate slideshows.
Oh, death by PowerPoint is real.
Yes, it is.
I challenged people over the last year to try and come up with one absolute rule. And so far, I haven't seen one. So I say all rules are contextual. So therefore you cannot listen to someone who tells you what to do. Because they don't know. Right? Any book that says this is how you write software is wrong. Because unless that book was written for your team in your company doing your project at this particular time, it doesn't know how you should write software.
We'll pause right there.
Well, I don't know what to add to that. I mean, it's pretty lucid, really.
I didn't always used to have this. I told someone last night, like I used to be very, very, very pragmatic about agility in general. Whereas if you can't help suggest a particular method or a way that I can do things, like I don't really have a lot of use for your feedback, right? But now, like that opinion is kind of softening. It's still not 100%, but that opinion is softening a lot more than it used to be. Because now I understand, let me give you the idea of where we're going, and then you can figure out how to get your organization there, you know?
Well, people doing the work are best positioned to do the work. People who say, I'll tell you how to do things, unless they've done exactly the same thing before, which is pretty unlikely, right? Mm-hmm. These consultants that come in and tell you how to do things, they may have some knowledge of other projects where they were successful or not. But not this specific one, because every project is unique.
Right.
So why not get out of your way and let you go ahead and fail if you then move on from there? It just sounds weird to say consultants should let you fail. They should if they're doing their jobs right.
Agile is not what you do. Agility is how you do it. And after all, that's what we want. We want to do things. You know? Our entire purpose here is to create. It's a verb. We need to make things. And for that, we need agility.
We've used this analogy before, I think, on one of the podcasts. You can't do healthy, right? You can do things that make you healthy, exercise, sleep, etc. But yes, I think that's his point. Yeah, it's a pretty good video. It's been quite some time since I last saw it.
Yeah, it'll be a trending topic pretty often. Agile's dead, and you'll have people talk about it. And like I said, the only reason I brought that up is because very recently, some people they didn't specifically say Agile is dead, but the topics that they were bringing up at the time lent themselves to that discussion, basically. Well, it's all just people trying to sell you things, or it's all just people trying to fearmonger you into doing what they say, and just a bunch of people trying to tell you what to do and take money from you in the end or whatever. And the core of it is basically rotten.
So I think it's twofold. Yeah, you're right. The core is rotten. But the other side of it is companies that dabble, right, and fail, and because they don't do it right to begin with, and they listen to the wrong people and all of that we've just been talking about the whole podcast. But when they find out that it isn't working, they immediately shy away from it and say, Agile doesn't work. Yeah. And I think that kind of attitude really contributes even further to this idea of Agile's dead, what next, right? But whatever's next, you're going to be exactly where we are now, because same thing will happen. There's the attraction to the new shiny thing. There's going to be the providers that come in, and the purveyors, they'll wrap things in nice wrappers and sell you stuff. So how do we break out of that cycle? Yeah. That really is the question. Maybe we should tackle that in the next podcast.
Yeah, I really have to think about that. That kind of goes back to you really need management's buy-in to help you along the way. But yeah, that's a heavy topic to try to figure out.
It is a heavy topic.
So yeah, we'll wrap this up. Pretty short, pretty straightforward, to the point. But yeah, Dave Thomas, Agile is Dead, 2015.
Well, let us know what you think in the comments below, other topics that you'd like us to explore.
That's true.
We may or may not do those, but let us know anyway.
Oh, we'll do it.
We'll do it. Of course we will. That's what we're here for.